Welcome, everybody. Good evening, good afternoon. Good evening, good afternoon. Thank you very much for joining us today. My name is Aizehi Onoigboria, and I'll be speaking with us today. This is part of the series of a webinar that we've put together to kind of drive the narrative about advancing clinical research in Nigeria. So this is our part 2. If you missed our part 1, please just drop your email in the chat. One of the admin support that we have will be able to provide the link to you for you to see, what our previous discussions were. And the reason why I say that is that you'll be able to get additional information in terms of, the historical background we gave about clinical research, what it's all about, how it's applicable to Nigeria, what are the challenges that we are experiencing currently in Nigeria, how far have we improved, so all of that information is in our first first advancing clinical research in Nigeria webinar part 1. So this is the part 2, and the title today is The Marriage of Data and Technology, the Power Couple of Future Clinical Research. And why do we call it the Power Couple of Clinical Research? When I was planning this in my head, I was thinking I was going to interject that sound, the sound that says ta 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 ta, the wedding song. I was going to put it there because this is the perfect couple. Data and technology work together hand in hand in any sector whatsoever, but bringing it into health is the best thing that's happened, to humanity, because obviously we can actually improve our health outcomes and do better with everything in terms of living a better life, having a better health outcomes, being able to control disease, being able to provide well-tailored treatments, particularly for us here in Africa, because as said, if you listen to the first webinar, you will find what I said there was that most of the protocols that are written for the drugs that we take, they are not specifically designed for us. It's not a deliberate thing. It's not as if we were deliberately segregated against or removed from it. It's just simply because that's the design. Clinical research or research and development happens mostly in the West. It is something that everyone has trained themselves to walk, in that pathway. For us back in Africa and in Nigeria, it's something that we are just beginning to come into. When you talk about research, when you talk about, research in Nigeria, people don't even think that, research is something that's modern, so to speak. They expect some old professor with horn-rimmed glasses coming out of a room with hundreds and hundreds of, file cabinets. But, we want to continue to drive this information because Nigeria is in a place where we are right at that precipice of exploding. And I say this because I know we have so much data, we've just not harnessed it. We've not put it together. We've not mined it, so to speak, data mining. We've not mined the data to get that data to work for us. And because we've not been able to start from point A, we can't even implement the technology. I see a lot of people talking about AI, when you go on Instagram, people talk about AI this, chat GPT wrote my CV, blah, blah, blah. A lot of people talk about that, but I keep asking, like, well, how do you think AI works? AI only works on big data. And if AI finds big data, you can program it and ask that machine, to learn the trends there, and then it starts to apply it, and then boom, you have whatever question or whatever command you've given it, it gives you that information straight away. But in the place where there's absence of data, how do you want AI to work? So we are being left behind. That's just the long and short of it. Nigeria is being left behind. And for people like us that see this, from our own perspective in terms of the global experience that we've had, we want to cry out. We want to say to people, look, let's do something different. Let's not follow our usual norms that, Nigeria, that's our way. This is the way we are. We are being left behind, and, we can do something. So this is part of why, we are doing this. I'm sorry, my system just seems to be slow today. Okay. Agenda general high-level information that we're going to be providing to you. Like I've given you a bit of a background, then we'll be talking about advanced clinical data, we'll talk about advanced technology. All our themes is all about, we use advanced for our themes because that's what we're talking about, advancing clinical research in Nigeria. So we'll talk about clinical data, we'll talk about technology, we'll talk about the Nigerian situation in terms of like data and technology. Then we'll talk about the system that our company has developed, which is called the United Clinical Trial Management System, a dashboard that will give professionals in our industry in Nigeria the leeway to start to close the gap within the industry with their counterparts outside of Nigeria. And then also we'll talk about how you can get involved. So let's go. A little bit about me. I'm a clinical research project manager. I'm not a very technical person, so everything that I have to say to you here is based on observation and based on experience. I oversee a lot of functions, so because of that, I have that information. I have that aerial view of where everybody should go to if you are conducting clinical research. I've had global, yes, as I was saying, so I am a clinical research project manager with over 10 years experience. I've managed different global clinical trials from early to late phases. My knowledge base is quite vast. I've worked in general medicine, I've done asthma, pain, multiple sclerosis, I've done sickle cell, I've conducted trials in rare diseases, and currently I'm in oncology. I'm very experienced in innovative and technology-driven studies because that's where I started from when I joined the industry. The first company I worked with was a company that provided technological services to the industry. So I started as a clinical trial assistant, and I grew into a project manager. So all the experience that I could get started from innovative and technology-driven studies. So, and I'm glad I started from there, because bringing that into the therapeutic areas, that's really helped me to have a better understanding, and also how to like implement different processes that makes all the processes more streamlined and makes our lives easier. I'm very passionate about making clinical research more accessible and impactful in Nigeria. I'm sure you can tell. I've been having this conversation with people, different groups of people, since like maybe 2014, 2015. I've been talking to different people. When I just got into industry, I called a friend of mine. I said, do you know anything about clinical research? I was like, oh yes, he's a doctor and highly experienced. I said, yes, that's a lot of people or doctors want to practice clinical research in Nigeria, but obviously they don't get that early stage trials in Nigeria, hence it's very discouraging. And he told me to go do a bit more research, about the Pfizer-Trovan case study, which again, I'll refer you to our previous webinar for you to get more information on there. So that's my little spiel about me. I'm still in the industry. I still have a day job, but I do this so that I can continue to put a lot of information out there. My passion mainly is that I want to close the gap of how our Nigerian professional clinical research, our clinical research professionals in Nigeria, I want to close the knowledge gap. I want to work with them to make sure that they have information, they are able to build on the information, the training, or their capabilities and their capacities. Because as I've always said it, Nigerian doctors are brilliant. I have spoken to one doctor who told me that he did a surgery with his mobile phone, the touch on his mobile phone. I was shocked. I mean, if you can do that, and then you have doctors in America talking about Doctors Without Borders, I'm like, come see Nigerian doctors who are doing all sorts of surgeries and stuff, without borders. So I really feel we have that resource in Nigeria. We just need to build up more on it. I always like to talk about our what, our why, and our how, I always like to talk about it. And the reason is because it gives you an understanding of what's driving us as an organization, what's driving me personally, and it's also like my sales pitch to you, to bring you on board, to say, look, come, let's run on this journey together. And the first thing is that what are we doing? Why do we keep talking about this? And we just want to assess our ongoing efforts to improve the methods, processes, and outcomes of clinical research studies in Nigeria. That's basically what we want to do. We want to assess our ongoing efforts. And I always say this, that there is a lot of effort that's going on in Nigeria. NAFDAC is doing so much work. National Health Research Ethics Committee is doing a lot of work. The local ethics committees of the different general hospitals and teaching hospitals in Nigeria, they are doing a lot of work. There are private organizations that are doing a lot of work. There are partnerships with WHO. Bill and Melinda Gates is a big organization that provides funding. There's a lot of work that's going on, but it's not being talked about enough. Hence, it looks as if we are not doing anything. I'm on the other side. I can look at it from the other side because I'm not so locally based in Nigeria. I move in between Nigeria and London. I can talk about it because anytime you bring up Nigeria in like conferences and whatever, it's like, yeah, that country, no. It's like, no, we're not going there. But I'm like, you don't even know, you don't have enough information. And that's because we don't put our information out there. We don't have enough data out there. If you do a wide Google search about Nigerian clinical research studies, you find that it is really, really limited, except you continue to dig deeper. And unfortunately, in Nigeria, we are used to, oh, I know somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody. If I'm trying to bring in a study from outside Nigeria, nobody wants to know the person who knows someone who knows someone. They just want to go to our National Health Research Ethics Committee website, type it in there and say, how do I conduct research in Nigeria? And they want that information to come up. So again, the reason why we are doing this is that we want to continue to complement our ongoing efforts to improve our methods. We want to make sure that, we are able to generate recommendations. I'm not a know-it-all. I talk about this because I want to gather more information from people. I had a meeting with someone from NAFDAC during the week, and I got to know a few things. I don't know if some of you know about NAFDAC and You. I hear that there's a TV program called NAFDAC and You. I think they feature it on channels television in Nigeria. I didn't know about it, but they said that yes, their NAFDAC provides information. But I think we can do a bit more. Now, why are we doing this? We want to help strengthen Nigeria's R&D capabilities. As I already said, R&D capabilities is really, really way low down there in Nigeria, and it's something that, we need to continue to talk about so that it can be funded. We can bring in more resources into it. There can be more training. And when we have all of that, it leads to improved patient health outcomes and economics. If people feel well, they can produce better. There's better productivity. There's better health outcomes. We can contribute to our industry growth. That means that there's more jobs, there's more capacity building, there's more information, there's more knowledge. We can actually innovate, we can grow outside of where we are right now, and then we can enhance and optimize our professional experiences, and we can be on the same level with our our global partners, so to speak. And then how are we going to do this? That's what we are talking about today: the power of data, the power of technology. We gather our data, we look at our data, we check the trends, what's going on with this data. If we don't like to write stuff, we don't like to document stuff in Nigeria, and it's not a problem peculiar to just Nigeria, it's a human problem, because it's arduous for you to document something. But you see, if you take out that time to do that, you can refer to it. My company is just 4 people strong. Everyone that comes on board, I tell them you have to write your processes. You write your process, you document your process, because I want to be able to refer to it. Tomorrow you can wake up and say, Isaiah, I don't like you anymore. I don't like working with you anymore, but I have the processes. I can continue my business. So business continuity is there. We carry on, we are able to carry on. So power of data and technology, you cannot overemphasize it. And then what that leads to is that we have big data, we can have personalized medicine, we can revolutionize our R&D, we can look at genomic research, which actually looks at how treatments are, tailored to our genetic preferences or how we are. We look at precision medicine, and be able to enhance our treatment outcomes. So it's not every time that they say, oh, I'm feeling a bit whatever. You say, yeah, go to NHS. NHS charges a lot of money now. So save your money and let us build Nigeria. Anyway, so that's like my initial preamble. If you have any questions, just drop the question in the chat. My team knows that we'll make a stop and we'll be able to field questions. Whatever I can't answer today, because like I said, I don't know everything. I'm not the technical person for you to ask some certain questions. If I can't give you that answer today, I will be able to source that answer for you, and I'll be able to post it or, send it to you in an email. Okay, so let's go. The first advance that we are going to be talking about is data and clinical data. What is data? This slide is deliberate so that it looks like really scattered with a lot of information on it. And you are looking at it, you can obviously see the ones that jump out at you because there are trends, for instance, in like blue. There are trends that's like highlighted in yellow. There are trends that's, you've got like purple. So looking at this slide alone, it contains a lot of information, right? But basically, what is data? Data is information collected in many forms like numbers, words, or images. It is a collection, of unorganized facts and numbers from different resources. What do we use it for? It helps us to make decisions or solve problems. I don't know if there are any doctors online. When I was a kid, my dad would say, I was always ill with malaria, and it's okay, take me to the clinic. We get to the clinic, they say, oh, Mr. Philip, did you bring your registration card or something like that? You bring out the card. Most of the cards, when you see the people, it's all torn, it's all, taped together and whatever, and then they go and bring your file. Your file is this big, you've got paper hanging out, you've got a lot of things, dropping out. All of that is your data. That's your health data. Imagine if we could put all of that in a system and be able to access it. Now, I don't even know if I need to access information about my health when I was like, younger. I can't find that information. A couple of years ago, Google offered to access NHS's data. They offered to access it, and they were offering to pay £5 billion. NHS refused because NHS has what you call longitudinal data. That means every person that is under 100 years old, because the NHS is about 100 years old or more, every person that is under 100 years old has every information about them in one place, from when they were born. Thank you very much, Dr. Onazi. I can see your comment. NHS system has information from when a person is born up till when they die or to their current state. So that is like heaven for anybody that wants to, you want to develop some kind of health technology treatment, or some kind of health biotechnological treatment. You'll be able to sit there, just look at the trends of information, and then you are able to track it and understand why was this person sick at this time. You see their data, you see everything about their demography, you see everything about their biomarkers, you see everything is there. But unfortunately, we don't have that in Nigeria. We can't even try that in Nigeria because till now, a lot of hospitals are still doing the bring your file, carry your file, and paper hanging all over the place, and you've got your card all over the place. You lose your card, they'll say, okay, come and write another one. They give you another number. It is completely untraceable. So imagine if we had all that data in one place. What would it do for us? First of all, it will help us understand the world around us today. The beautiful thing about Nigeria is that when we need to accelerate some of our action, we know where to go to get this data, and the data that we source always kind of like is enough for us to solve the problem. Ebola crisis, for instance, thank God for is it Dr. Fashola, or I can't remember his name. It was the state governor of Lagos State as at that time. They had just built that big technological lab at Lagos State University Teaching Hospital at Ikeja. That helped out a lot because they could collect a lot of samples, they could analyze a lot of samples, they could get quick information out. So I can't overemphasize how important it is for us to gather data in a more constructive way than paper. You're going to hear me talking about paper and paper and paper today, why we shouldn't use paper, why paper, why we need to move away from paper. And you can tell me that, oh yeah, we don't have a PC in my office, we don't have laptop in my office. How will I do that? You use your phone. Nigerians are the most that I see that forward GIFs And what's it called? Oh God, there's this other thing that everybody is always sending all over the place. People don't talk anymore. They either send you the GIF, something, they send you a meme or whatever. They are always sending that out. Thank you. They're always sending you memes and all of that. So if you are able to do that, then obviously you can work with technology, because I don't even know how some of that works. So back to what I was talking about. So data is extremely important. It helps us to, understand the world around us. It helps you to even understand yourself. If you get a report, like I said, I can't find any report about myself or my health status when I was a child. All I knew was that I was always sick with malaria. So if I wanted to find out or trace something about me health-wise now, I can't find it because it's not available anywhere. Then data is important for us to make decisions, or we use them to solve problems. So how does that happen? You gather the data, you identify your questions that you want to ask, you want to pressure test that data. I've worked with an organization that that wanted to prepare a trend on how our circadian rhythm affects hypertension in individuals. And they started that whole process. They had access to just a small portion of, I think the data that they were getting there was from the Oxford University Teaching Hospital in England. And, they were able to collect that data. They didn't even come out of the system. You just need to go into the system and start to look at the trends. They'll tell you, okay, this is scattered, this is a lot of noise, this is, the statisticians will tell you everything about what they can do about data. But if you don't give them the information and it's not complete, it's fragmented and there's nothing they can do about it. This is one of the reasons why a lot of big pharmaceutical companies, let me get my thoughts together again. So big data is used to make decisions, solve a lot of problems. I was talking about the company that I worked with that, they used a lot of data that they got from Oxford University to understand the trend, how a circadian rhythm, that's your body clock, actually impacts or causes hypertension or lack of it. And it was interesting that the data analysts didn't even come out of the system. They just go into the system, they look at the trend, they look at the noise of it, they separate it, they find the trends, and they can put all that information together in a lovely chart. I can't do that, but I mean, I can tell you that data is really important, because at the end of the day, we got the report, we understood what we were looking for. So if you want to answer a question, you look at all the information or the data that surrounds you, and you're able to get that trend, out of it. We present the results, and be able to implement the changes. I'm talking about technology and I seem to be having technological issues. Okay, so sources of data. First of all, as I said, when we gather, enough data using different sources, we can study it to find patterns, trends, and useful insights that help us improve processes to make better choices. And then obviously the sources of data that we are talking about includes publications, news, information, history, events, surveys, websites, everywhere. You can get information from everywhere. As I'm talking to you, I'm giving you information, so I'm giving you data. So it's up to you what you choose, to do with it. Types of data, we've got data in numbers, which is numerical data. We've got text data. A lot of us use WhatsApp. We use emails. I remember the first time I heard about email, it was like 1991 or 1992. The person that was talking about it was so excited, because all we ever knew was mail as it is, as in go to the post office, go and post the mail. But then, he was telling his friend that when you press that button, the next second, the person tells you that they've gotten the email, something that we are all used to today. There was a time that it did not exist, So text, text data, you use words, it uses words to share information. It includes emails, reports, social media posts, like we all like to like information on Instagram and all of that. We've got categorical data, which again is used to sort, the information into different categories. You can analyze it, colors, products, age ranges, different types of categories. The one that is most popular is date and time data. You look at, your calls, for instance. If you make a phone call, it shows you the date, it shows you the time that you made that call. It captures when that event happens. It also helps us to track our schedules, deadlines, timelines. And then multimedia, of course, is also very popular. So all of these are different sources of data. The importance of data and why is data so important? I have spoken about all of this already. It shows your patterns and trends, it improves efficiency, it solves problems, it helps in decision making, it supports innovation. We cannot overemphasize that. How is data stored? I don't know if some of you are as old as I am. Does anybody know about floppy disk? Does anybody know about file cabinets? When you go to the bank and they will say something is wrong with your account, that they have to go and get your form, your account opening form from somewhere, and then they come out with this big ledger. When they have to open the ledger, you need like 2 hands to turn it from one side, bam, to the other side, and then they start to track it. Oh my God, how did we survive that? So different ways of storing information. You would see that I've highlighted electronic or digital storage in green, and then physical paper. Oh God, please move away from there, I beg you. Some people will never let go of a piece of paper. They'll say, oh, this receipt, I used it to buy a pair of shoes from a Ferragamo store in 1996. In case that shoe gets bad, I have to take it back to them to replace the shoe. So today you can either store it on your laptop. Now you have limited capacity with like laptops, and you go straight to the cloud. You have the clouds there, Amazon and Google and Microsoft, all these guys that were very intelligent, they've made our lives so easy. You don't have to carry anything with you. Let me tell you a quick story. I love my dad. I'll always tell stories about him. My dad, Mr. Philip, was what you called a personnel manager. They are what they call HR. Currently, in the current day now, they are called HR. He was a personnel manager with a government parastatal, Federal Airports Authority of Nigeria. It was then Nigerian Airports Authority. And they transferred him to northern part of Nigeria, like a regional place, for him to go and sort out whatever was happening there. So he went to somewhere, I think maybe Yola. I don't know if some of you know where Yola is. He went to Yola, which is like a remote airport, probably 1 or 2 planes only land there. He did all of his work and everything, and he left. He left on Friday to go back because Kano was his base. He left to go back to Kano on Friday. By Monday morning, they called him and they said, Mr. Philip, the office at Yola Airport got burnt. They said, so all the work you went to do there, how will you now give us report now? You don't have any reports to submit, all of that. The office, there was a fire, it got burnt. My dad said, don't worry. My dad has this big briefcase that he travels with. He just opened this briefcase and brought out all of the copies of the so-called files that people thought that they are destroyed because it had incriminating evidence there. You see, that's what paper does. Paper encourages us to be corrupt. Short and simple. There's audit trail in the digital part. You store it there, you will find it there. If you can't find it, if you feel, oh, your laptop broke down, you take it to some technician, they will be able to find that information, for you. So I don't want to keep going for too long. We're going to come to clinical data quickly. We have doctors online, so I'm sure our doctors can tell us exactly, what clinical data is. They know what clinical data is. But for the benefits of those of us that don't know, clinical data is basically every health-related information gathered during a patient's healthcare journey. I was just talking about hold, Joket, somebody just posted something, so just hold that information. Or let me pause here. Joket, there's a comment there. I can't read it because of the way I'm sharing. Can you please read it to me? Somebody just posted a comment.
Okay, let me read it to you.
Thank you.
He said, pardon my ignorance here. I want to assume some forms of clinical trials are already taking place in Nigeria.
Yes.
Who owns the data generated from technology-enabled clinical research? Sorry.
So repeat the last part. I didn't get that last part.
Okay. So I'll go again. He said, pardon my ignorance here. I want to assume some forms of clinical trials are already taking place in Nigeria. Who owns the data generated from technology-enabled clinical research in Nigeria, and how are participants' rights and privacy protected?
Okay, so rights and privacy protected. I believe Nigeria has some policy in place in terms of how participants' rights are protected. When data is generated in clinical research, basically what they do is that the patient's information is coded. So they call them, they are anonymized, or they are pseudo-anonymized. And what it means is that, for instance, if I participate in clinical research, you're not going to see my name, Aizehi Onegboria, born on so and so date, living at so and so place. You're not going to see that information. You're just going to see patient ID 10001, Lagos Teaching Hospital, and that's it. That's how you'll be able to identify that patient, but you cannot trace it back to me. So I can be participating in a clinical trial right now, but you cannot see my information. The only person that can see the information is the doctor or the site, which is the hospital that registered me for that clinical trial. Does that answer your question? Just drop a yes or a thumbs up. If not, I can come back to it. Yeah? Okay. I'll assume I've answered your question. If not, just say that I've not, and then I'll pick it up again. So quickly, I said, I described what the NHS system has in terms of the rich data that they have. You know, they have clinical data for a patient's healthcare journey from when they are born up till their present life, or up till their death. So all that information is there. There's traceability, there's medical history, you can see the lab results, you can see the treatment plans, you can see all of that information is there. And that information is rich, because, you know, at times when you go and see your doctor, they say, do you have a history of da-da-da-da-da? Do you have a history of diabetes, hypertension, da-da-da-da? The reason why they ask is because they can include that information in your history. Because if you now have a child that is undergoing something similar, they can go back and trace it and say, okay, this person's family history, they've shown that they are diabetic at 30-something age, and they can use that to, you know, understand what's the trend and how a treatment plan can be developed for you. So this data, as I've already said, is used for patient care. We can use it for research. The interesting thing is that diseases are not unique to one person. Diseases, most times you find that it's impacting a community. It's because of our lifestyle, it's because of our gut biome, as I like to say. You know, it's because of our types of biomarkers that we have, that anyway we've not even started discovering yet, you know, in Africa. You know, so these are the diseases. Some diseases are peculiar to certain ethnic groups. For instance, they tell you that fibroid is common amongst ethnic women, specifically Black women. It's not something that's common with the Caucasian community. Sickle cell is common with the Black community. In fact, it's specifically a Black people's disease. It has nothing to do with the Caucasian community. And then it's the Caucasians that are trying to treat us. We have not discovered the cure to what is wrong with us, you know. So somebody please help me here, because we don't have enough information. We don't gather the data. We are not following the trend. We are not pushing for this innovation. You can say, yes, we don't have the money. Oh, we have bad government. We have corruption. The environment most times must not be completely comfortable for us to start to look for ways to break ourselves, you know, out of that mode that we are in. So we just put a small chart here for you to see everything that's comprised, you know, in clinical data. It includes patients' well-being data, family well-being, culture, ethnicity, your geography, your demography. The person who lives in Alaska, which is like that can drop up to like minus 40 degrees, cannot have the same biomarkers or biome as a person that lives in Sokoto in Nigeria, where you have temperatures as high as 50 degrees. completely different. Yeah, so health system data, treatment, disease, clinicians practice, those are all clinical data. Now we come to clinical research data because we are focusing on, research. What are the type of data that you should expect for clinical research? We're talking about regulatory compliance data. So this is the kind of data that, NAFDAC would generate, or the kind of data that NAFDAC would measure performance of, like, clinical research or trials to, because you have to give them your values, you have to give them established values, their metrics that have their compliance level. They have to make sure that they are measuring against those standards. So you have regulatory compliance data, you have financial reporting systems. Clinical trials is very commercial, number one. Number two, it requires a lot of funding. And because there's the possibility of fraud and corruption in there, there's there's heavy financial reporting that is required there. There's heavy financial reporting that's required there. There's patients electronic health records data. That's one of the things we've already talked about, which I used the NHS system as an example. Then we have clinical trials and management data. We have sales and marketing data, because after the drug has been developed, it comes into the market, the post-marketing data. You have to collect that data. You have to look at, the safety, or you have to look at the safety of that data, and you have to know whether is there efficacy. Everything that they have published about that drug, is it true? Is it correct? The research continues. So you can see with the research and publications of journals as well. Now, the value of global clinical data, like I said, it cannot be overemphasized. I discovered a new word, which is called exabytes. We hear of gigabytes. This is exabytes, which is like, it says 1 quintillion bytes or 1,000 petabytes. I'll leave that to the programmers to sort out for me. But you see, that is how much data that we have in healthcare. This is what you refer to as big data. Now, if you want to talk about AI, you show the programming in there, and you tell the system to, the machine learning to learn whatever trends that's in there, and then it starts to generate all sorts of solutions for you, saying, okay, I've looked at all the data in there, I've categorized it. People who are over the weight of 75 kg, this is the health, whatever that they will experience. These are the kind of health solutions or treatments that will be experienced, that they would require for them to feel better. That information is in there, it is available. And that's what you call big data. You have genomic sequencing, where it's a sequencing of cells, of our genes. You have the cell and gene therapy. The information is there, and all of this is gotten from big data. You have medical imaging. A lot of the cancer is the big thing that's happening out there, and with cancer, there's constant requirement for you to be able to measure, the lesions, the size of the tumor, all of that. So there's medical imaging data that's there. There's health records, we already spoken about that. There's medical devices, all our wearables, all our watches that we wear. I'm counting my step today. I'm checking my blood pressure. I have a watch that tells me I've sat down for too long, I need to get up. All of that information. Today, if I go to the doctor and say, oh, my back hurts and everything, they can take all of that information and say, oh, you have a sedentary lifestyle, you need to move more. All that information is in there. And, the world's data, healthcare industry, it's been projected that the healthcare industry has 36% of the whole world's data by this year. That's the projection, that we have. So look at the increase between 2013, 153 exabytes, and look at the increase in 2020, which is 2,314. Do you want to think about the increase as at today? How much data, that we are generating? You want to talk about your smartphones? You want to talk about, the search engine data? All this information, is already out there. Let's come to our country, my dear country, Nigeria. Why do we need clinical data in Nigeria? Why is it so important? Because you see, when I talk about this, people say, yeah, it's because, you've lived abroad, you do this, do that. I'm like, I've never had it from that perspective. I'm someone who's always been a firm believer in what we can do in Nigeria. Always had it there. So for me, Importance of clinical data has nothing to do with, oh, it's not what we do in Nigeria. It is what we do. It is what we should do. It is what we must continue to do. Documenting information. I mean, a lot of our doctors, a lot of our nurses in your small groups, I know all of us cannot have President Tinubu's ears. We all can't be a special advisor to president on health matters, a special advisor to local people council. You can do your little thing in your corner. You can make sure that your process, you are doing the process the way it should be. You see somebody doing something incorrectly, you set a process in place. I always tell people, I'm like, develop a cheat sheet. Look for something and put that instruction there. Particularly if you are in a position as a leader, then you should be able to do something. So let us take the so-called Nigerian factor that we always like to refer to. Let's take it, let's show it out the door. Let's look at it from a clean slate, saying that, look, how can we improve our care? And this is one of the things that it's important for us to start to gather clinical data. Like I said, if I want to go and look for my history as a child with all the malaria illnesses that I suffered and everything, I can't find that information. If I go and see any doctor today in Nigeria, it's going to be a case of they will treat me on what has happened to me, what symptoms I'm displaying as of today. There's no traceability, except it's a doctor that's been seeing me for a long time and everything. I mean, I don't know whether family hospitals still exist in Nigeria. Everybody is really trying to make sure that, they meet up in terms of the costs. And I completely understand that it's really expensive for you to run a healthcare system in Nigeria, but I'm sure we can also do something, alongside. So first thing, the importance of clinical data in Nigeria is that it improves patient care. We cannot emphasize that enough. NHS started charging Nigerians for, they call it tourist something treatment. You get a bill of over £2,000 or something when you come for your treatment. Everybody that used to go have babies in the US, they'll get there, they'll give them a nice fancy room. The doctors, the nurses are telling you sorry per second per minute. The doctors are treating you nicely. When they get back home and then they give them a bill, you see $40,000. They'll be like, what happened? How did that happen? Right? You see all of that happening. So it's important that we start to look inwards and start to look at how we ourselves, can start to develop our clinical data, because it will help us to start to develop innovation in terms of our healthcare. We can't keep waiting for the federal government. It's not possible. There are a lot of private hospitals in Nigeria. There are a lot of private health institutions in Nigeria. We know what we can do. We can put these processes in motion, and I'm sure we can arrive at the point of having data that is robust enough for us to be able to harness it and use it, to gather some kind of information that will help us make progress. So the first is that it improves patient care. It enables accurate diagnosis, treatment planning, and monitoring. It drives tailored research and innovation, because it provides evidence for developing new therapies and health solutions. Like I said, if you have that information there, you can look at it. You can use that information to build, tailored innovation that will help us, tailored treatment that is tailored specifically for us. I will say it again: protocols for drug developments are not written with they're not written with ethnic minorities or groups in mind. It is written, first of all, for the Caucasian community. It can be amended to include the ethnic groups eventually, but that's after they've gone through the safety phases, the initial efficacy phases, which is phase 2, phase 3, and then maybe post-marketing studies. They bring it to places like Nigeria, and still we don't even collect enough safety data for them to be able to analyze it anyway. Another thing that the importance of clinical data does for us is that it strengthens public health. Our public health is in shambles, but I can tell you that if you want robust treatment, if you want to get the right treatment, our general hospitals, our teaching hospitals in Nigeria, it's second to none. I have seen all sorts of complicated surgeries, complicated procedures done in our general hospital. My brother did like a procedure some years back. He had like fluid in his lungs and everything. And the doctor did a brilliant job. He came out, he was back on his feet in a couple of weeks. The surgery went very well. It was clean. You know, we didn't have to start saying, no, let us fly him to Poland, let us fly him to Bulgaria or whatever. No, it was done right at the general hospital there. And I mean, I can continue to talk about different hospitals. One of the doctors I spoke to a couple of years back, Dr. Olasende, he's like their head of research and development, clinical research and development also at at Obafemi Awolowo University. And I met with him, you know, introduced him to one of the consultants that wanted to bring some immunotherapy drug into Nigeria. Brilliant doctor. He's currently partnering with some institutions in America. So we have people on ground that, you know, that can actually provide this, that we can get a lot of information from, that can help us to strengthen our public health. I keep saying that we need to put the right people in the right office. Nepotism is not going to help us in any way, but nepotism is our way of life in Nigeria. So that one is just a digression. But if we are able to get the right people into the right position, or you have people who decide to start to talk to people like me, just keep talking until somebody listens to you, then we'll start to make some level of progress, you know. Again, importance of clinical data is that it supports clinical trials. I cannot overemphasize that enough. It will attract global research investment. Now, initially, when I just started my company, I was thinking, oh, let me go get people who will come and, you know, invest in my company and all of that. And then I looked at the whole landscape of clinical research in Nigeria, and it wasn't working. So as a result of that, I decided, you know what, I'll continue to gather a lot of information, work with our regulatory compliance system, and see if we can make ourselves attractive enough, you know, for Nigeria, for research, for global research investments, you know, to be done in Nigeria. It enhances our healthcare system. Again, it's the same thing that we've been talking about since. So what are the data collection hurdles in Nigeria? I've been talking about it since, you know, our standard operations are widely based on analog or manual processes. They're based on paper records, so we can't even move away from there. Limited infrastructure, you know, poor internet connectivity. Today, you hear is one company that's providing internet service. You hear it's another person that is providing internet service. It's not made readily available in like infrastructural organizations or big organizations or hospitals and all of that. Some people have to hotspot and all of that. So it's a big challenge. But like I said, if we continue to talk about these issues and drive this narrative onwards, eventually somebody will listen to us and, you know, do something about it. There's the workforce gap as well, shortage of trained personnel, you know, for data entry, analysis, and management, and that can be solved by training. Just bring somebody who has the information, they're able to train a group of people. I worked with a local authority a couple of years ago in the UK, I think maybe in 2010 or 2009 or so. Everything was paper, volumes and volumes and volumes and volumes of files, all paper. What was I was there to train everybody to start to use the new system that they have deployed. We will try, but people will still go back and carry the paper. Eventually, they gave everybody the deadline that you must have learned the system and you must be able to use the system. If you cannot transition, then you leave the organization. Everybody had to comply. So until we get there, when they said they were going to start the NIN registration, did everybody not comply? Everybody complied. BVN, you can't access your bank account until you do BVN. Everybody complied. So we can try the same thing with the health system. Maybe somebody will do something. So the last one is that, you know, people just don't want to be bothered. Why do you want me to document stuff? I beg, it's too much while I can't be bothered. You know, if you write it, if you document it now, you misfile it, or the best one is that they'll say they've hidden your file. They put it somewhere that you cannot see it again. That's why I'm like, we should get rid of paper forever and ever. Please, does anybody remember this thing called TPEX, correction fluid? This is the juju of corruption. Just TPEX it and write over it and you are good to go. Does anybody remember TPEX? If you remember TPEX, just give me a bit of, you know, let me see some reaction from you if you can remember what TPEX has done for you. How many times you've had to use TPEX to correct one thing or the other? You know, TPEX So I mean, I don't need to talk about it. It's all there. Is paper the enemy of our progress? People don't want to move away from paper. Computer literacy, is something that, we need to keep talking about. Again, emphasizing our challenge in terms of paper. So what's our solution? Deploy nationwide interoperable health data systems. You may say, oh, that's a far-fetched idea. It is doable. I went to a private hospital in Bagada when I was in Lagos earlier on this year, and they were taking vital signs from the patient that we went there to see, and they were entering everything on a tablet. And I was really impressed. And they said that's how they actually run their system. So some private organizations are beginning to practice this in terms of being able to gather their data, generate their data, and all of that. Our hope is that it transitions and it comes into a national practice where people start to do that, and it will help us to standardize all our digital platforms and be able to access health information for people. Again, train healthcare workers in data management and digital literacy. It's highly important. Show them what to do, enter fields, be able to use dashboards and all of that. Community engagement is important. Public-private partnerships, as already mentioned, a lot of partnership organizations are already practicing that. I know our time is fast spent, so if you are pressed for time, if you need to drop, no problems at all. We are recording this, we can send it out to you if you need to drop, but if you still have time, please just join us and let's continue on this journey. Our next topic, as we've already talked about data, next topic is talking about technology. I don't need to explain technology to you. Everybody that's here today, the reason why we can do this, have this meeting online today, is because of technology. Or else I would have had to fly everybody to some place from Nigeria, Togo, Ghana, all over the world, and say, okay, come and meet me somewhere so that we can have a seminar or a webinar. So that's what technology has done for us. The one I want to talk about mostly is the blockchain technology. I don't know if some of you have heard about Bitcoin. So blockchain technology is what brought about Bitcoin. Somebody sat down, somebody put this technology together, and they made a currency out of it. Some places, some places online, if you are shopping, they tell you they don't collect money. They want Bitcoin. So general information there. That's technology for you. Power of technology in healthcare. You can use, latest softwares. It is automated, so it's not manual. You are not, for instance, if you need to type into a field, if you type a patient's surname, for instance, it will bring out all of the information, or you put in just their date of birth, identifiable information, it will generate all that information. So it's not a process of, fill the first field. They'll give you a form, it's like 16 pages long. Meanwhile, you are dying already. They'll say, go and fill the form. When you fill the form, bring it back, then go and queue. When you queue, then go and wait online for you to see doctor. That's why you die now. That's why the death rate is high. But if it is automated, you can just link it yourself into the system, get the information out, and start going, with whatever treatment plan that you have for the patient. You can analyze data, you can generate data and say, okay, I want to look at data for a group of people, a group of women between 18 and 60 who suffered hot flashes between 10 p.m. You can get that information because it is reported there. It will be part of some kind of symptoms or whatever, and you can get that data out. You can analyze the data. You can try to understand, is it because of their diet? Is it because they all live in some part of the country? Things like that. It also helps us with compliance because you have that information and you can look at where you have gaps. If you have gaps, you are able to adjust your processes, and then you do better. There's something called process improvement. You do better. You force yourself to start to get compliant because the metrics are staring at you. If you set a measurable metrics or KPIs for yourself, and you look at it and they say you are meant to be, performing at 50%, and you see that you are at 20%, you have this metric staring at you, you start to run with it, you improve yourself. So process improvement is a big thing. And also then it provides opportunity for innovation because you have that information and you can, conduct any type of innovation that you want to do. So it does play a crucial role in collaboration, streamlined communication, and seamless operations in advancing clinical research. Future trajectory of clinical research with technology. I have experienced each of this information that I have here. BYOD simply means bring your own device. So a patient who's participating in clinical research and you want to complete the clinical, the patient-reported outcomes or the questionnaires, you don't need to get there and they give you a paper form for you to start to complete. You just bring your device, they set it up there, you have your own unique PIN code, you log in, you complete the questionnaire. On that 5 minutes, you are done. Very seamless, very simple. E-source, the same thing, electronic documentation. You can find documents quickly. It's just a search system, you get it out. ECOA, electronic clinical outcomes assessment, the research professionals online, they all know what I'm talking about. E-consent, this Pfizer, Trovan saga that happened a couple of years ago, they said the problem was that they couldn't find any records of patient's consent to participate in that trial. If it was electronic, somebody would have said, okay, let's go dig it out wherever it is. You will find that information stored somewhere electronically in the cloud somewhere. So e-consent, that's what it's about. E-recruitment, patient engagement. So everything that's listed here, IMP tracking talks about the drug tracking. I was talking with someone from NAFDAC, during the week, and he said that, NAFDAC had to go and raid somewhere because they found that the storage conditions of some of the drugs that are being brought into the country was not according to the standard, wasn't according to the policies, that NAFDAC has set in place. If you had an electronic system that was measuring it, that was reporting temperature per time, once it goes out of the value or the approved value, that's measuring it and that's feeding it directly into a system. You don't need to pack security men in a truck and say we are going to raid somewhere, and then you get there, say, oh God, better go, we don't know, all those kind of whatever. Seriously, let's start to open the curtain. Let's start to educate ourselves that technology makes our lives so easy. Remote monitoring, you don't have to, if I'm conducting a clinical trial in Kano, I don't have to be physically there. I have a system and I connect to their electronic health research, health records, and start to download all the information about the patient, and I can review information that I need. If I need to go there, then if I must absolutely be there, then I can go there. Mobile nurse management, telemedicine, EDC integration, all of this, this is the trajectory of clinical research with technology, but we are not there at all. When I did a wide search of why a lot of sponsors withdraw from trials in Africa, I found that the main reason is because they said the data that they were receiving from the hospital or sites in Africa was not readable. They couldn't do anything with it because they were not providing the data to them. Meanwhile, the reason why a clinical trial is conducted is so that the sponsor can get enough data for them to make an informed decision and present that to the authorities and say, our hypothesis was right, this is what we did, this is how we conducted the trial, these are the results, can you please let us, provide this drug to people so that they can start to receive that treatment. So only 40% of trials like that are completed in Africa. We just don't pay attention to, data collection. Now I want to talk about biotechnology. I'm going to stop before I go into biotechnology. Are there any questions? We've come to the top of the hour. If you're still able to stay, we'll appreciate that. If not, we'll send you the recordings. Do we have any questions, Joke?
Yes, we have some questions. The first one is, how can we improve clinical trials in Nigeria? And are there willing sites that are ready to take up this responsibility?
Yes, thank you very much for that question. Who asked the question?
Okay, this is from Babajide.
Okay, thank you very much, Babajide. I appreciate that question. Yes, we can Yes, we can actually conduct clinical research ethically in Nigeria. In fact, we are at that place that we have the advantage to do that. But the first thing is that we need to optimize our capacity. We need to optimize our capabilities. A lot of sites or hospitals or PIs or intending PIs don't have enough information about global clinical trials. And trust me, if they are bringing early stage trials into Nigeria, it's not going to be specific to Nigeria. Nigeria is going to be part of a global trial. So we cannot say we are applying this rule to just Nigeria. The only rule that will be applicable to Nigeria is the regulatory authority system, like what we have. NAFDAC has a process that you need to go through for the trial to be approved. National Health Research Ethics Committee have the process that you need to go through for that trial to be approved. I believe the local ethics for the hospitals as well have the process that you need to go through for that to be approved. But then the setup of the trial, the starting of the trial, the setup, the training of the trial personnel or the site staff, for instance, and then how to recruit patients, all of that training would need to be provided. But you must have a level of understanding before sponsors would even agree to conduct trials at your site. So yes, we can conduct clinical trials in Nigeria. It's currently being done. There are some that my challenge is that the ones that's sponsored in Nigeria currently are mostly funded by charity organizations. It's not commercial enough. So it's not contributing to the growth of our economy. Yeah, I hope I answered that question. So the reason why we are doing the reason why we are throwing out these webinars, throwing out our information, by the way, if you're not following us yet, please follow us on Instagram, follow us on LinkedIn, follow us on Facebook. We will be creating a WhatsApp group chat after this so that we provide first-hand information to people as we receive them. But we are throwing all this information out so that we can start to generate a lot of interest in this area, so that we bring people who are already experienced in this area to come and provide some kind of soft training to people, for you to have first-hand information, and then you can take that and run with it. I came into clinical trials as a complete novice. I came as an administrator. In fact, I had just finished my master's in project management, and I just wanted the UK experience and pack my load and go back to Nigeria. That was what I wanted to do. So I got this job. I looked at it. I'm like, wow, this is really interesting. I went for my first investigator meeting. I met a lot of women, matured women, in Germany. And, they were all still very vibrant, still working. I'm like, wow, I think I'm going to stay here and see what's going on. So I started doing a lot of research. Then I did like a short diploma course, that allowed me to transition from the place of the vendor into a sponsor space, and that's what we have been operating since. So you have to take the personal interest. As an intending principal investigator, you have to take the personal interest, and that's why we are throwing this information out. As an intending principal investigator, that means you are able to lead your own site. You need that interest. You need to get your team together. You need a research group that you want to work with. Do a proposal to your hospital. Let them know that, look, we want to start conducting research in this area. We want to start looking at trainings. It's not all trainings that you pay for, because anytime you talk about trainings, people always talk about money. The first thing they say is, oh, it's going to cost us. Let's put money aside. What do you want to achieve, first of all? If this is what you want to achieve, there are ways to go about it, and we can work together. If you're interested, send me an email after this meeting. We can talk together. Talk about this. Yes, there's another question from someone, Aloysius.
Yes. Before then, there was a question asked earlier. Who owns the data generated from technology-enabled clinical research in Nigeria?
The sponsor owns it. Whoever pays for that trial owns it. Pfizer, it costs close to $5 billion for you to bring one drug to the market. So it's not your data. Yes, you can do, if you find anything scientific about the trial, once you are conducting it on behalf of the sponsor, you can take you can, with permission, publish your paper, but the sponsor owns the data. The data does not belong to the investigator. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. We still have some questions here.
Let's take the questions.
I believe you've answered this, but I would like you to shed more light on it. What body sets the standards and rule for clinical trials in Nigeria?
NAFDAC, National Health Research Ethics Committee. Those are the two organizations that, you know, set the rules for it. If you don't get an approval from them, you cannot do anything in Nigeria. And, you know, the major challenge with them is that they are very, very rigid. And there's a reason for them to be rigid, because obviously, you know, the way we are in Nigeria, we like backdoor things, quick fix things and all of that. But then the rigidity as well is pushing people away. I had the opportunity of consulting on behalf of a Scottish consultant that I had worked with a couple of years ago. And he called me and he said that a company, an American Chinese biotech company, was looking to conduct immunotherapy study in Nigeria. And they wanted me to gather a few people. Every person that I spoke to said, have you spoken to NAFDAC? Have you gotten approval from National Health Research Ethics Committee? Everybody knew that information. But the fact is that the reason why the man had to reach out to me was that he had tried to understand the procedures that we've put up in NAFDAC, and he couldn't go around it. Our protocol or guidance on how to navigate our clinical research procedures in Nigeria that was put up by National Health Research Ethics Committee was a verbatim copy of the NHS. They didn't even remove Scotland and England from it. It was still referring to NHS. It was written drafts, do not publish, and somebody published it. And so if you click on that, that's the first thing you see. I've been talking about this since nobody's answered me. I've been looking at that link. It's still there. Somebody should please go and take it down. It is terrible for our country to be represented in such a way. When I go to conferences, I still talk about Nigeria. You know, people, oh, great. Okay, thank you, Babajide. Okay, so, you know, when I go to conferences, people still, you know, I talk about Nigeria. I'm not, see, if you know yourself, if you know what Nigeria is capable of, like I said, Joke, maybe drop a link of the first webinar, drop it on the chat so that people can pick it up and watch it later. You'll find additional information and you'll understand why I'm speaking from this perspective. You understand? We've got the advantage, because we have real world data. The data that we have is untapped, it's clean, it's fresh. We just need to mine it and organize it and start looking into it and see what it can do for us. Yeah, next question, please. I'm just mindful of time.
Okay, thank you very much. The next question is, in your opinion, is there awareness of standards to be adhered by companies and scientists running the trials?
The standards are there. I cannot speak to the awareness. For instance, whilst I was conducting research for the first webinar, I stumbled upon a YouTube video that was published by NAFDAC, and it's about the medical safety app. It's an app that allows you to report safety issues with any new drug that you take, drugs that's been approved by NAFDAC. Any new drug that you take, you should be able to report it through that app. When I looked at the video, only 900 views of a country of over 220 million people, only 900 views. Only 900 views and 1 thumbs up. I asked my team member to please check whether we can find this information elsewhere. We found it on Facebook. 16,000 people only have looked at it. So you see, when you're talking about awareness, yes, they are doing everything, but you see, with our normal behavior in Nigeria is that let's implement it now. We implement it, we dump it there, we go. Nobody's monitoring it. We are not maintaining it. We are not pushing the information. We are not driving the processes. If we are not doing all of that, how do we want to standardize the process? How? So the awareness part, I can't speak to it because there are a lot of things that I wasn't aware of. I wasn't aware that medical safety app existed until I had to dig and dig and dig and just came across it. I reached out to someone in NAFDAC. I said, look, we want to support you in pushing a lot of information out. They said, oh, NAFDAC has information. They have NAFDAC and You, a TV program that people don't watch. It's on channels somewhere. I've asked a couple of people, I said, do you know about NAFDAC and You? Someone said no. Do you know NAFDAC and You? This one said no. I'm like, huh? So awareness, zero. Is it there? The process is, yes, it's there. The DG of NAFDAC is working hard. The poor woman is working very hard. I can't remember her name off the top of my head. She's working very hard. But the people that are working with her, they actually don't, I don't think there's a clear understanding of what role NAFDAC plays in Nigeria. I don't think they have that clear understanding. Okay. Next question.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Professor Adeyeye, thank you very much. I got that. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay.
I like it. Everybody's engaging today. Yes. What's the next question?
Another question is, what are the steps to improve clinical trials in Nigeria?
Okay. Steps. First step, train. Train everybody. Get a lot of information out there. And that's what I'm doing. Like I said, I've been discussing this with individuals for over 10 years. I set up my company since 2019. I didn't make much progress on it because I had a day job. And I mean, the task of coming to optimize clinical research operations in Nigeria was, you know, but as they say, if you want to eat an elephant, you have to eat it a bite at a time. I was out of contract, I think maybe 2 or 3 years ago. And I got in touch with my partner, Joke, who's currently reading out these questions to you. She had worked with me the first time I set up the company. I set up the company, I put it aside, and then I went back to it again. And then I called her, I'm like, what are you doing now? She said, well, she's not doing anything. I said, fine, come on board, let's start, let's see what we can do. And initially, I wanted to go start approaching a lot of sponsors, come do research in Nigeria, but I found out that we have that knowledge gap. People don't know a lot of stuff. The information that is global, we are, if we want to say on a scale of 1 to 10, how much do we know in Nigeria? Minus. We are below 0. And I'm not saying that to put anybody down. I'm saying that because this is the real situation that we are in. And that's what pushed me to start doing these webinars, that we need to throw that information out there. Let's get this information out. That it's important that we are training people correctly with the current information. Now I'm talking about technology. I'm talking about data collection. Some people don't even understand what it means for you to collect data and what that data means. So yes, so the first thing, let us train everybody. After we finish training everybody, then we can take our training and then start to liaise with our regulatory authorities. Because I do believe that some people in NAFDAC don't know what they are doing when it comes to clinical research. For instance, the definition or the requirements for you to register a contract research organization like myself, it's like I'm a pharmaceutical company or I'm a biotech. I'm not a biotech. I support the services. I provide support services to a biotech. I provide support services to a pharmaceutical company. The way they expect us to register ourselves with NAFDAC, it's crazy. So as far as I'm concerned, I would like to sit down with someone in NAFDAC and tell them, this is what's obtainable out there on our own level. Because you see, most of these bureaucratic partnerships that's done, you see, oh, NAFDAC partners with WHO today, hooray. The partner with MHRA, hooray. Let me drink water, excuse me. I've been talking for an hour. So, excuse me. Right, so you see, there are like different partnerships that are going on, but it's not trickling down, it's not having that trickle down effect. And as a result of that, we are not seeing the results really. People are not being trained enough. If you talk about training today, everybody just wants to look for their ESTA code. Which hotel are we going to stay? How much money are they going to give us? Nobody's learning anything. So people like you and myself can only throw all this information out there and hope that somebody picks it up or somebody decides to partner with us. So if you know anybody that's interested in trainings, getting all this information, like I said, please link us up. We are happy to provide this information. Next question.
Okay, thank you very much. So this question is huge. It says, what sort of CTMS are being used in Nigeria or is popular in Nigeria? I know regulatory authorities appreciate systems like Viva Volt, and this is coming from Babajide, who intends to bring clinical trial on a particular therapy to Nigeria.
Babajide, I will definitely partner with you. So if we are talking about CTMS, yes, Viva Vault. Where are you from, Babajide? Are you in the UK or you are in the US? Let me just know. So Viva Vault is a big system, which I don't think Nigeria is ready for, because you need to be trained to use Viva Vault. Oh, you live in Germany. Excellent. So Viva Vault, I'm quickly running down to show you what I've done. So because of the gap that I recognized in CTMS provision, I had to look for someone to develop a CTMS for me that I can use to train people and work with people. So I've done like a reduced size of Viva, because Viva is huge. Viva is huge, and you can't compact Viva. Organizations that use Viva are organizations of like 200 staff, whatever member upwards. If you've worked, and I've worked with biotechs that are like smaller than that, they can't use Viva. They tell you what's it called? The system is way too big for them. So imagine introducing Viva to someone who has never used Viva at all in Nigeria, right? So because of that, that was the first thing, and our minds are thinking alike. The first thing I had to do was to find someone to develop a system for me. So what we've done is that we've developed what we call United Clinical Trial Management System. It's a good segue for me to quickly talk about this. You know, we have a platform which is unified and helps us, you know, in terms of like study design, planning. It has like site management features, subject management features, document management, compliance management, reporting and analysis. That's what we've built into it. And the reason why we've done it like that is so that there's that audit trail that is provided there. One thing we've also done is that we put like a checkout process for like sponsors, for instance. So if a sponsor is looking for hospitals that they want to like, you know, conduct trials on, we have a list and categories of hospitals. We've categorized them in terms of their sizes, bed space, their capacity, capabilities, experiences of the principal investigators and all of that. We've built all of that in there. So the sponsor can go in there, choose based on category, put it in a checkout, and then we can conduct like a site initiation visit. We can do PSSVs for them, or we can conduct the SIV, or we can just even conduct a feasibility study if it's something that they would require. But the first thing we did was to, you know, develop this CTMS system. So I think you are a perfect candidate, because I was going to ask for people to come and pressure test this system for us. We have tested it internally. We want to validate it. We want people who are used to using this type of software systems to please come and test it for us. Tell us, you know, what gaps that, you know, they find in there, and then, you know, we'll be able to come up with another version. So Joke, please take Babajide's contact. We'll definitely reach out to him. He's one of our first testers. I hope you don't mind. Thank you very much. Okay, so capabilities of the UCTMS, I'll just quickly talk about this before I go back to biotechnology. You know, streamlined communications between sponsors, CRO, site staff. We even created a space for vendors. Like I was talking about the storage issues that they said you know, if you find that if you have temperature measures, temperature sensitive monitors in a place that you store drugs, once the temperature drops, it will communicate straight to the system. You find the information there, you can react quickly, you perform a risk assessment, you know, understand what has gone wrong. Do we discard the drugs? Do we keep it? You inform the sponsor. This process is streamlined and you can move quickly. But if you keep waiting for, oh, somebody finally came to say that, oh, that drug that they used yesterday is spoiled too. They'll say, let them go and ask this person. Go and ask this person. They'll say, okay, let us go and raid them. Pack, you put people in pickup drugs with their broken down rifle and say, oh, hey, stop there, everybody. You now put red tape. It doesn't make sense to me. So for me, I'm already thinking about streamlining the process, you know. So that's what we have. We have real-time tracking of trial progress and participant data. The participant data that we have is mainly for the sites view, and this is not EDC. EDC is a different database on its own. The first thing we've done is that we have created a UCTMS, which helps us to manage the trial as it is. EDC is what you call electronic data capture system, which is a database of all the data that is being collected on the trial. So when we get a trial, we are able to design that and customize that on behalf of the sponsor as well. Real-time tracking of trial progress and participant data, automated alerts for compliance deadlines and reporting. I made sure the guys that worked with me on this, they're Nigerians, very good. You know, they had never done anything like this before. I came with all my specifications. I came with all my requirements. I was going through every step. I'm sure at some point they were like, who is this person? Get them off our backs. You know, but I told them exactly what I wanted, because I wanted a simple system that can be easily adopted or adapted by someone who has never used the CTMS system before. That's what we did. We have dashboards that provide, you know, insights for you, faster decision making. You are looking at a site and you see that the site is not performing. You can call the site straight away, talk to them. If there are gaps there, if risks have been flagged consistently from this site, then you know that it's an issue. You initiate an audit with the site. If you need to close them, you close them. If you need to train them, you train them. So we have all of that. And then I already spoke about vendor management, improve efficiency and reduce compliance risk, enhance patients' outcomes with better managed trials. That's exactly what we are really, really interested in. Somebody was asking about ethical considerations and data privacy. I talked about pseudonymizing the data or anonymizing the data. And that simply means that if I, Isaac, join a trial today, you are not going to see my name, Isaac Onoiboria. You are going to see patient ID 1001. You see the name of the sites that I work with. You see the trial that I am on. And that's it. We are not interested in the patient's identifiable information, what they call PII. We are not interested in that. We just want to see the data that the patient is providing for that specific trial, because that's all that's required. You don't need anything else. So one of the things we've done is that we've put consent and control in place. We ask that was this patient consented? That was built into the system. There's accountability, there's data governance. You know, we've already done the privacy right for design. There's transparency. Audit trail. If somebody changes something there, it flags the security officer straight away that something has been manipulated. And so we check it. If it's a false alert, we say, okay, it's a false alert. If it's not a false alert, then we issue an investigation immediately. That's the way we have built it. Then there are if there are SOPs that are built into the study that you require, that is a requirement that they must be completed before you can proceed with the study. We have put a gateway there that you will be sent warnings up till 30 days after. If you do not complete it, then you cannot log into that study. So you are forced to do it. So these are things that I've learned over the years. I've been able to take information from what is going on in Nigeria versus my experience in the diaspora, and I've comparatively built something that I believe will work for our Nigerian system as it is. We still have, it's a scalable system, so we can build more on it, but I've asked for the simplest template right now, and it can be customized to any study that's required. So I know our time is a bit fast spent, and like I said, if you need to drop, no problems at all, that's fine. You know, one of the things I wanted to talk about, you know, if you look at the campaign that I sent out, I said, you know, Nigeria is in a curious moment. We have real world evidence data. Heavy lifting has been done for us. All the early stage clinical trials, they've been performed on our behalf. So we don't need to go back and start conducting early stage trials again. We don't need to do animal testing. We don't need to do preclinicals. They've done preclinicals, they've done lab testing, they've done phase 1, phase 2, phase 3 for us. Thank you very much. God bless you. We are coming into post-marketing. we have real world evidence data. Now, pragmatic trials is something that's embedded already in the system. A group of people to come together and say, we want to observe how a mechanism of action of a specific drug is going. For instance, I was talking to my brother the other day, and we were talking about, diabetic medications. And, this is constantly changing. You go and see your doctor, they say, oh, your sugar is high today. That medicine is no longer working. Try this one. And I was asking, I'm like, do you have somewhere that you record how you feel after you take the medicine? He said, no. And I'm like, it's something that we need to look at. For me, it's very simple. What I'm doing right now, I just go to LinkedIn or go to Instagram and say, okay, if you're a diabetic and you are currently taking so and so drug, we are conducting trials on it for observation for up to 6 months. If you are between age please click this link below. It will lead you to a consent form. If you agree, you provide your consent, and it will provide the forms to you. We collect that data straight away. Yeah. So that's what pragmatic trial is. And that is where Nigeria will benefit a lot. Because with that, we can start to see emerging trends. We have clear understanding of how we need to direct our trends. I was saying to somebody the other day, I'm like, Nigeria took control during COVID-19. We held it down. I was in Nigeria when COVID, I went to Nigeria when COVID started, when the outbreak happened. I went to Nigeria. I spent 10 days in Nigeria, and then I came back to the UK. As at them, I was going to Nigeria, I think end of February of 2020. You couldn't just go straight into the plane. The health information form had been implemented. We got to the airport, the immigration officers were already measuring our temperature and all of that. When I came back 3 weeks or so later, UK, the gates were wide opened, no hand sanitizer in the airport. Boris Johnson was still saying, yeah, herd immunity will be fine, herd immunity, everybody go about your business, blah, 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 until people started dying. The death toll was into the 50,000s in UK. Nigeria was under 200 or under 400 or something like that. Melinda Gates was saying, oh, I see dead bodies lying all over the streets in Africa. Oh, blah, blah, blah. We held it down. We held it down. Now, did somebody go and gather that data? I want to understand whether is it because we eat a lot of atarodo or we are exposed to so much sun. As a lot of people kept on saying that, oh, it's because you have a lot of sun. That's why, there was not a big death toll with COVID. Well, you can't compare the sun in Florida or the sun in Miami, for instance, with the type of sun that you have in Nigeria. It's way, way, way hotter. And a lot of people still died there. So what happened? What made the difference? I would love to see that data, but unfortunately, we don't have it. Maybe it's somewhere. Some people collected it, they are using it, but if you search for it, you can't find it. Nobody will even say provide the information and we can give you this. Yes. Thank you very much. I saw that. Yeah, I agree with you that data was truly being collected, and it was controlled in Nigeria. So I'm not saying that because we don't have, what I said at the start is that we know how to accelerate our processes when we see like we are like caught up in some kind of major dire strait or a very tricky situation. We know how to accelerate our processes, and like I said, the data is there. Somebody is collecting it, but we are not making use of it, except we are in like a difficult situation. That's when somebody remembers that, okay, we can go and get this data so and so place. But why aren't we proactively using it for us to continue to develop, all this real world evidence technology that can help us? Yeah, because of time, I was going to go through the different types of therapeutic treatments or different treatments that come out of biotechnology. I was going to go through that, but yeah, I just wanted to share this because the first webinar that we had, we talked about early phase trials, and that was what we were pushing for. And this is an evolving situation for me. And then I discovered, oh, there's pragmatic trial. And I've always said observational trials is the best situation for Nigeria, because most of the drugs all the drugs that come into Nigeria, they are post-marketing. the ones coming from India, the ones coming from China, the ones coming from the West, the ones coming from America. Every one of them is post-marketing, but nobody is tracking. And if they are tracking it, I'm sure the data is somewhere, but nobody's looking at that data. The question I asked the other day, I said, this medical safety app that was launched by NAFDAC, who is in the back end? One of the ladies that used to work in NAFDAC, she relocated to the UK. Incidentally, we work in the same place. I asked her, I said, she said, yeah, she used to work in NAFDAC. I said, so what do you do with all the pharmacovigilance data that you collect? She said, nothing. They don't do anything with it. I've been to a conference before where somebody told me outrightly that whenever they ask for data from countries like Nigeria and Kenya, that the sponsors just tell them, don't bother about it, you'll not get data. And this is a pharmacovigilance auditor. So where do we start from? So I'm talking about this, and that's why I had to show you my what, why, and how schema, so that you understand what's driving me. I've been on this journey since the day I started clinical trials, since the day I got into this industry. From the day one, my then colleagues, if I bring them today, they will tell you that I was always telling them I'm taking this to Nigeria. I just did not know how. The first person I spoke to about it, he just told me, he said, look, this is massive. He said, but see, just start and do what you can. So this is me doing what I can, that we need to get this information out there. There's safety information. My father died from a serious adverse reaction. He had been taking a hypertension drug. He was hypertensive. He had been taking, and he had been managing it for a long time, right from when I was a child, 5, 6 years old. You say, go and bring me my medicine. He used to take Lexotan. I don't know if some of you know it, those hexagonal pink tablets. You say, go and bring me my medicine. He always takes it around 9 o'clock before he goes to bed. And so over the years, I grew up, I left home, went to university, started work, moved back home. I was staying with him. And obviously, they had changed these medications over the years. But then with Nigerian wahala, man of 58 years old, he went out one day, his blood pressure was so high, went to see his doctor. Doctor said, okay, there's a new medicine, let's try it and see whether it will bring it down. The medicine crashed his blood pressure. He took the medicine around 9. By 12 midnight, he was dead. I took him to the hospital. He was dead under 3 hours. So it was a case of, oh, Mr. Philip died though. We don't know what happened though. He walked into the hospital himself. He just died. Did anybody say, okay, what drug did he take? What was the safety concerns with this drug? Is this something to do with his biome? You know, but I spoke to a pharmacist friend some hundreds and hundreds of years later, and they said there was some kind of drug that was brought into Nigeria that was actually, you know, that was causing serious adverse reaction in people, you know, and resulting in deaths. Because my dad and his 2 cousins that he grew up with, that they all grew up together, they all died within 3 months of each other. Somebody said, nah, juju from my village. Nah. they were all taking the same types of medication. You know the way we refer ourselves for medication in Nigeria now. I'm having a headache. Go and take XYZ ibuprofen. I took it the other day. Within 1 second, the medicine, the drug, the headache was gone. You say, okay, give me. You take your own there. You see, you tell the next person, the other day that I had a headache, I took this, you know. That's how we refer drugs in Nigeria. There's a good control now, because at times, if you took your list of medicine to to the pharmacy, they will just send it to you. But now they ask for prescriptions. So like I said, a lot is going on in Nigeria. There's a lot of work that is being done. We just need to continue, you know, to talk about it. I'll start rounding up. I know I've taken a lot of your time. Thank you so much to those that are still online. How can I get involved? Like, you know, Dr. Babajide is already doing, he's getting involved. Let's get involved. Everybody needs to be involved. Be involved. Even if you are not in the medical field, you are not a clinical research person, you know, you are not you are not involved in the clinical space. Get involved. Start thinking about processes. Start thinking, you know, you are like, you are out there, you see a process, you look at a problem or you look at a system, you believe that you can contribute to it, document the process. I just put this engineering design process here. It's not complicated. You define the problem that you have. What is the problem that we have right now? Oh, in my department, we are not collecting data. Somebody was telling me the other day that works with one of these parastatals, that they were giving out laptops. It's like there's a list, a special list, and this one I said, so laptops for you to do your daily job is something that they give out like a special gift. They say yes, because some people go and give it to their children to go to school. So yes, we know that these problems so you know that this problem happens steadily, but we can be different. That's why I said depart from the norm, because we all say, yeah, it's a Nigerian problem. It's not a Nigerian problem. It's a human problem. It's an individual problem. The day you and I decide to switch our way of thinking and start to train ourselves in a different way, we start to see change. You can create a whole department of people that are focused on process and you are doing better. Yes, you may be isolated. They will not cut you in when the deal is happening. But before you make that decision, you know that you're not a hungry man, or you're not a hungry woman, or you're not the corruptible type. So you focus and you do the right things that you need to do. And at the end of the day, you find that it gives you a pathway into greater heights and higher heights. And you start to think about innovations. You start to think about how to improve on, the general lot of Nigerians. Seriously, somebody asked me that, what's your own wahala? You're always shouting this, safety this, safety that. Anytime I go to any conference, I raise my hand, I talk about Nigeria. And I remember one woman, she was a bit nasty. She's like, Africa can never be, because they were talking about how they're now taking clinical trials into the Eastern European part, Ukraine and co. And unfortunately for them, war broke out in Ukraine, so everybody had to run out of Ukraine. But they are now going to places like Latvia, Bulgaria, and going to places like Poland and all those places. They never used to go there before. Do you know that when I actually started in 2012, nobody wanted to touch China with a pole? Nobody wanted to go to China, because then if you say you want to take your drug to China, they say, China, they will replicate it. They will make the fake version. If we are taking any drugs into China, we start planning for shipment or logistics 6 months in advance. Whereas you ship to UK or Germany, you can even do it within a week. We start to plan for China 6 months in advance. But today, everybody's going to China. So no matter how poorly they speak about Nigeria out there, because yes, I started this because I want to see us improve how we are represented out there. Like I said, Joke has dropped the link to the webinar on the chat. So please pick it up, look at it, just watch it. It will give you a background, history, introduction into this conversation that I'm talking, what I'm saying here. So you define your problem, you identify, the constraints in your solution. Most times people say, oh, there's no money, we have corruption, we have a poor government. Somebody told me that we have poor pharmaceutical companies or bad pharmaceutical companies in Nigeria. I said, well, let's continue to throw the right information out there. Eventually, they will get the information right and it will be done. It can even be accelerated when more people like you and I join forces and start to make this campaign, carry out this campaign. Because clinical trials in Nigeria, it was a hush-hush. Everybody just felt, yeah, clinical trials or clinical research is not something that's popular that you bring into the mainstream area. I mean, look at me. Am I someone that when people ask me that, what do you do? I say, I'm a clinical research project manager. I say, well, that's a mouthful, because somebody wants me to say, oh, I just first of all say I'm a project manager. They say, in what area? I say, clinical research. Clinical research, do you mean like drug development? I say, yes. So are you a pharmacist? No. Are you a clinician? No. Are you a doctor? No. Are you a nurse? No. I'm a project manager in a clinical research system. So you see, we can all contribute. The beauty about what I do is that I can operationalize a project. And that is one of the things that I believe is lacking in Nigeria: the planning aspect, the delivery aspect, the controlling aspect, the management of the risks and all of that, So yeah, so you brainstorm, select, the promising solution, prototypes, test and evaluate your prototype. Like I said, we developed a clinical trial management system. Is it the best system in the world? No. it is our base. We want to start from there. That's why I want people to come and pressure test it for me. Come and test it. Come and tell me it's not robust enough. We look at what other information do we need to include there. What other data do we need to collect? Please bring it. We'll add it there. We'll build it. We'll customize it. That's what we want to do. So that's what I already started, with. So we are saying that, embrace the symbiosis of our community that we are creating right now. We are inviting everybody, to get involved. The potentials that we have is going to be transformative. We believe so, but we just have to keep this going as much as we can. It's a continuous learning process, and that's why we've decided that we'll be doing this way, carrying out these webinars regularly as much as we can. We had one last month, 28th of March. I know the campaign I sent out said 28th of April. I've lost track of time, but the last one we had was on 28th of March. We are doing this one this time, and the next one is going to be either second week of June. That's when we are planning to, and we are going to start bringing in people to come and share their experiences. I currently have a doctor friend who I had worked with previously. He was a doctor in Nigeria. He relocated to the UK, and he became a CRA. He was a a clinical research associate, a monitor, and his experience in medicine really helped him. He was doing this just before he got his license to be able to practice, as a doctor in the UK. So we are bringing him on board to come and discuss with us and tell us what are the challenges, what are the pitfalls, what did he experience, how can we, translate all this type of experiences into our Nigerian system. We'll throw out additional trainings for people. Like I said, train, continuous learning, adapt. New systems are coming up. New information is coming up. A lot of new trends are coming up. It's not just the memes and the gifs that we need to keep forwarding. Let's start getting all this information out there. And I am going to stop because I know that our time is fast spent. Thank you so much. Do we still have any questions? I can take more questions.
Okay, so we have just 2 more questions finally.
Okay.
Yes. So the first one is it possible to harmonize clinical data from both private and public health institutions in Nigeria? And the second one is, please, how do you train the people involved in the trial, like study-specific training materials?
Yes. So I'll take the first one in terms of training people involved in trial. There are 2 types of training that will be required. First of all, your capacity or your capability trainings will be required. I can't just say come and participate in clinical trials if you don't have the right qualification. Qualification requires experience, and then you always say experiences. How can you get the experience if you have not? Which one comes first, the chicken or the egg? Which one comes first? Do I don't have a job in clinical trial. How do I want to get the experience? So there are a lot of ways that you can get experience, first of all, but the first thing is good clinical practice certification is popular. That's the first place for you to start. It gives you a lot of information. Like I said, please go back and watch our first webinar. It gives you that information. You can be certified in good clinical practice because that's the benchmark for you to be trained as a clinical research professional. Now, for study-specific trainings, every clinical trial comes with its own protocol. A protocol is the plan, the pathway with which the trial will be executed. It tells you the population of patients. It tells you the type of drug. It tells you, it gives you the rationale for the conduction of the trial. It tells you the numbers. It tells you the primary objectives of conducting the trial. It tells you about the statistical analysis. It tells you so much information. Everything is built into a protocol. So for you to participate in a study-specific trial, you need to be trained on that specific trial, which means you need to understand the protocol, the procedures, what are the SOPs that are applicable to that trial. If it's in Nigeria, for instance, you need to there's National Health Research Ethics Committee, as I already said. There's local ethics committee. There is NAFDAC. All of that will first of all need to meet their requirements. And again, it can be study specific. So training is 2-pronged, as I said. Make sure you are first of all trained in the level of understanding that you require for you to be able to conduct clinical research. And second of all, For you to be to participate in a clinical trial itself, you need to get told, you'll be provided like with the protocol and all the information that you need to train on. I hope I answered that question correctly. Next question, please.
Yes, thank you very much. And the last question is it possible to harmonize clinical data from both private and public health institutions in Nigeria?
100%. 100%. We just need the right platform. 100%. Yes, you can. You can harmonize. What is we say public and private. They are both systems. It can be done. You just need the right platform. If you have the right platform, then obviously you can pull all that data together. We were talking about sources of data earlier. Yes, it's like you asking me that, can I pull data from Google and pull data from the NHS and amalgamate it? Yes. You just need to categorize the data. You look at that data because it's going to become like a huge pool of data. It's there. You just want to look through all of the data that you collect from the private institutions. For instance, you look at it and you say, okay, we want to categorize data for women between 18 to 50 years old that have rash on their skin between so and so, whatever. You pull all that information out. You pull the same thing out from the public. You merge it. It becomes one data. It becomes one source. That source now is data for women between 18 to 50 years old with rash on their skin from the northern part of Nigeria. So it is no longer data from private institution, data from public institution. It just amalgamated together and it becomes one data. So yes, that can be done. Any other questions?
Okay, that will be all for questions.
Yes.
Okay, so
I have a CRO in Nigeria.
Yes.
Go on, Joker, you've muted yourself.
Yes. So the question is, so we can say that we have a CRO in Nigeria.
We have a CRO in Nigeria. It is a CRO for us by us. Somebody told me that IQVIA is in Nigeria. Babajide, I'm sure you've worked with IQVIA. And I said to the person, I said, yes, I'm not competing. IQVIA is one of the biggest monstrous contract research organizations in the world. They've absorbed, they used to be Q2 solutions also. They absorbed Quintals, they absorbed so much CROs, right? They've absorbed a lot. I decided, because I looked at it, I asked myself, I said, is this something that I can do? Do I have the capacity? Am I the right person to do this? I say, well, I'll give it a shot. I'll set up a CRO in Nigeria. I actually met a senior vice president of a big pharmaceutical company when I went for one conference in the UK. I went to introduce myself, gave him my card. He said, you have a CRO in Nigeria? I said, yes. He said, you mean you went to Nigeria to set up a CRO? I said, yes, sir. That is how bad I need it to work. So I set it up. It's in Nigeria. We operate in Nigeria. Joke is in Nigeria. Precious is in Nigeria. Do we have Temi online? They are all in Nigeria. I travel in between, between the UK and Nigeria. Yes, we have it operating in Nigeria. What we want to do is to make sure that, we have a strong base, and that means we've done the legwork in terms of partnering with the institutions, partnering with the regulatory authorities, working with them directly. What we can do, IQVIA can't do it because we are smaller, we are more nimble, we are more flexible. The adaptation to the learning curve that you might see with a lot of people that have not been exposed to technology, we can adapt quickly because we can sit down one-to-one and work with people in small groups. I don't think IQVIA can afford that. IQVIA has their SOPs are global. They're not Nigerian restricted. I tell my team, write the SOPs and make sure you are including the challenges, constraints, risks, issues that we may experience in Nigeria. So I tailor my services specifically to delivering that within Nigeria, not anywhere else. So yes, we have a CRO in Nigeria. Any other question?
That will be the end of questions for now.
Thank you so much, everyone that made the efforts to join. I really, really appreciate you. I am sorry we ran over by 54 minutes. Precious, please, when you set this thing up next time, make it 2 hours, because this was very engaging, and I'm very thankful for all the people asking the questions. Dr. Nazi, Dr. Babajide, Olu, everybody that's been asking all these questions. I really appreciate your effort. I hope to see you in the next one. Please drop your emails if you've not dropped it. We send out drop your email, and if you're also interested, please drop your phone number. We are creating a WhatsApp group where we can interact easily. We send out newsletters weekly. Precious, our fantastic content manager, she sends out newsletters weekly on LinkedIn, on Facebook and Instagram. Please look out for it. You can drop your number, as well. And also, we still need people who are interested in pressure testing our system, please. So also drop your number. I can see some numbers coming through. Thank you very much. We will send you a link for you to pressure test it. You just create a test site, go through it, take on either a sponsor role, a site role, a vendor role, and just make sure you pressure it and pressure test it. Come back to us, let us know what the results are. We can take criticism, so please feel free to be very, very brutally honest with us. Okay, thank you very much. This has been a lovely time. Yes. Okay, you said you want the sandbox. No, it's fine. We'll send it to you as is for now. That's the general plan, that you can go into it and explore it. If not, we'll speak to our programmer and they can provide the sandbox version to you, and you can also use that. Thank you. Any other question, comments? We are going to be stopping right by 2 o'clock. Thank you, everybody, for joining. Have a good evening. Enjoy the rest of your day. Take care. God bless you. See you soon. In maybe in a couple of 6 weeks or so, we'll see you soon. Okay? Thank you. Bye-bye.